I finally made it in.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Hello.
Did anybody else have a hard time getting in?
Yeah, we just logged on. It's been like 20 minutes. I've been sitting
Yeah.
here. They're having problems, they said, with the
Yeah,
whole
I
system.
called them.
Yeah, I called too. I just got logged on.
I think we've all been logged on for like less than a minute now.
Right, good.
Do you know where our teacher is?
The guy told me that he rescheduled the conference with the same people at the same time, so I don't know if that means she's coming or they're probably having a hard time with her too.
Yeah. Well, I hope it's not going to wait any long later tonight.
Right?
Did anybody get their ICD-9 book?
I did.
I did. Isn't it
Yeah.
small? It's
No, I
compact.
have the CPT.
Did you get your hip fix?
Nope.
No.
No, me neither. I just got my CPT and my ICD-9. Just come over here, Jamie. No.
Why not? I still have homework to do.
Then you'll do them after. Who has the cricket in their room?
Oh no.
Darla. Are you
Yeah.
on?
Yeah. What's that?
Did you ever work at Maine Veterans?
Hello, lady.
Oh, I think I substituted in there a couple of times.
The name just looked familiar. I worked there
Oh.
for 4.5 years.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
I worked for a company called, what was it? Home Care of Maine or something like that, and I did a lot of one-to-ones.
Yeah?
Yeah. That was, goodness, that was over 10, 12, 15 years ago.
Oh, it's changed a lot in the last few years.
I'm sure it has.
Personality.
Oh, good evening, ladies.
Good evening.
Who do I have on the line? Let's see, I have Lisa Leonard and Noble, right?
Yep.
Do I have Darla Bridges?
Here.
All right. Do I have Christina? And do I have Angel?
Yes.
And Barbara Henke? Lisa Fry?
Yes.
Excellent. So, Darla, you must be in the dark because I can't see you.
I'm in the
Barbara, you
dark
must
on
be
your side.
in the dark because I can't see you.
Right. No, my computer doesn't have a camera, but it's got everything else.
All right,
figure.
hold on.
Yeah.
Hello, this is Doreen. Yes, I got the call. So it looks like everyone's online. There might be a few more that tried to connect, but you can let them in. Thank you. All right, bye-bye. All right, so Barbara, no video. And Darla, the same thing?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get started. As you can see, we were having, not we, but Network Maine was having technical difficulties. So am I speaking loud enough? Because I really don't want to yell.
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. And Lisa, I believe you said you were not going to be here next week. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's my son's birthday.
That's fine. Would you just make sure you let Noble Adult Ed know so that they're okay? That would
Already
really
did.
be
Thank you.
appreciated. Thank you very much. Okay, and Angel, the same thing with you. If for whatever reason you end up not being able to make it to class, could you get the Adult Ed's phone number and just call them and let them know as well as me?
Yeah.
Great, thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to go over the answers for 12, 13, and 14. And Lisa, I know I can hear you, but your picture's frozen again.
I know.
That's
Sorry.
okay. No need to be sorry. I'm just glad that you are able to participate. Okay. So turn to your workbooks, and I believe 240. We started on 240. Fill in the blank. All right, so number 1, an individual who becomes eligible for Medicare Parts A and B at age what? Lisa Leonard.
Lisa Leonard?
Yes, Lisa Leonard.
Okay. 65.
Okay. So I'll say Lisa Leonard for Lisa Leonard and just plain Lisa for Lisa Fry.
Okay.
Okay. So number 2, Medicare Part A is what kind of coverage, and Medicare Part B is what kind of coverage? Emily.
Part A is hospital and Part B is outpatient.
Yes, Part A is hospital and Part B is outpatient. All right, number 3, name an eligibility requirement that would allow aliens to receive Medicare benefits. Barbara. Okay. How about Darla?
Say it.
Number 3.
Number 3. Okay. The alien must have lived here continuously for 5 years on a permanent basis.
Yes. All right. How about number 4, Lisa?
Special contributions by employees, self-employed persons with matching contributions.
Yes. Okay, and how about number 5, Angel?
Social Security Administration.
For number 5?
Yeah.
Okay, so number 5 is define a Medicare Part A hospital benefit
wait, whoops.
period.
Oh, I was looking at the other one. Sorry.
Okay.
It begins the day a patient enters the hospital and ends when the patient has been discharged.
Yep.
Whether it's from a nursing facility or the hospital for 60 days.
Yes. All right. Number 6, Lisa Leonard.
Hospice care?
Yes. Number 7, Darla.
Oh, is it respite?
Yes, respite care. All right. Number 8, The frequency of Pap tests for patients is once every 24 months at a low risk, once every 12 months for high risk, and that for mammograms is once every 12 months. Keep in mind that patients who are under the Medicare program, your mammograms are done for women who are age 40 and older, plus a one-time baseline mammogram for women 35 to 39 is allowed. Number 9, some third-party payers offer policies that fall under guidelines issued by the federal government and may cover prescription costs, Medicare deductibles, and co-payments. These secondary or supplemental policies are known as Medigap or Medi-Fill. Also, I want you to make note that not all supplemental policies cover your prescription costs. Since the implementation of Medicare Part D, some of your patients may actually have a separate policy that covers the drugs and medications. Number 10, Emily.
Yes. Medical and preventative care.
Actually, 2 types of HMO plans are your HMO risk plans and your HMO cost plans. Number 11, Angel.
Clinical laboratory improvement amendments.
Yes. Number 12, Lisa.
Accept payments from Medicare after the $140 deductible's been met.
Yes. 13, Darla.
Elective?
Yes, elective. And number 14, Lisa Leonard.
Procedure code modifier.
Close. It's HCPCS or Healthcare Common Procedure Coding System Level 2 code number.
That was my second choice.
Okay. How about number 15, Emily?
I didn't get that.
Medicare is, the first answer is fiscal intermediaries. And the second part to that is Medicare Administrative Contracts, also known as MACs, M-A-C-S. How about 16, Angel?
Unique physician identification number, and then the second one's durable medical equipment supplier.
Okay, close. Your first one is no longer going to be a UPIN, it's going to be an NPI, National Provider Identifier. The second one, DME supplier.
Yep.
Number 17, Lisa.
I didn't get that one.
Okay, number 17 is created by the medical practice or in block 12 of the CMS 1500 212 claim form. That's where you would put that. Number 18, Darla.
30 days?
Within 12 months of the date of service. So the time limit for sending in a Medicare insurance claim form is within 12 months. You really want to send it within 30 days, but you have up to 12 months. All right, number 19. On Medicare, processing will occur and the payment check will go directly to the patient. Medicaid will not pay. So keep in mind that regardless of whether or not the physician is participating or a non-participating provider, this type of processing is what would occur in this situation. So that's why it's imperative that the assignment portion of the claim form be completed. Okay. Number 20, Angel.
To the group insurance.
Say that again.
To the group insurance, that's what I had.
To the employer-sponsored plan. Yes, employees group health plan, correct. And 21, the answer would be automobile liability insurance, no fault insurance, or self-insured liability insurance company. All right, let's go on to the multiple choice. The multiple choice, we had 22 was letter D. 23 was letter D. 24, Emily.
I had D.
24 is B. So if the Medicare patient receives medical service that may be denied, payment either entirely or partially, the provider should have the patient sign an ABN form, which is an advanced beneficiary notice of coverage. So we went over that just a little bit in class. An ABN form is an advanced beneficiary notice form. It is, you can Google it online and find out what the current form is. Most practitioners use this for a service that is not covered when it is, let's say, maintenance care or something that the provider is not sure of the coverage. So I'll give you an example in the chiropractic world. Under chiropractic for Medicare, we would use an ABM in the instance where the diagnosis code drives the number of visits a patient has. All right? So let's just say, for instance, the patient's coming in with some low back pain and some radiculitis down one of the legs. Okay? What radiculitis means is inflammation. So they've got inflammation running down the leg, and that secondary diagnosis code might allow the patient to be seen, let's say, 24 visits. So the patient continues to come in. We show, every 12 visits that we're doing a progress exam, and they're making progress. But let's just say on visit 25, the patient is doing really well, and we're not sure if Medicare is going to cover it anymore because they've pretty much used up the number of visits we think that Medicare will cover. So we would use an advanced beneficiary notice in that case. We would say to the patient, you know what, it seems like you're doing really well today. We probably can release you from this plan of treatment. Because of that, we're not sure Medicare will cover this visit. This is an advanced beneficiary notice form that we need you to sign in the event Medicare does not cover it. Basically, we're telling Medicare, we've given you the form, we're going to append the correct modifier on the procedure code, send it into Medicare, so they know what we've done with you, and if they don't cover it, it will be your responsibility. Do you still wish to have these services today? If so, choose one of these boxes below. And we fill it in with the patient name, their ID number, the date, the service that they're having in the office, what the charge is, and then they sign and date it. So then on the billing side, we would put the procedure code in for the chiropractic adjustment 98940 and append it with a GA modifier. A GA modifier is telling Medicare that we saw the patient, we're not sure this service is going to be covered, this is the form that we gave them, we bill it, they pay it, or they deny it. When they deny it, we have that form to go back and say to the patient, it wasn't covered, this is your responsibility. Okay? All right.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Is that the provider's responsibility to tell her that at the time, or you at the desk or out back?
Usually it is the staff. It could be front desk, it could be back office, and there actually are some providers who do get involved in those types of talks with the patient. because it really should be signed before the patient even has the service. It's not supposed to be made retroactive or after the fact. It cannot be done blanket. It cannot be a blanket form that is used every single time. It has to be filled out every single time you think that patient is not going to be covered.
Okay, so it really should be done when they first come to the office then.
Yes, and we feel
Okay.
that it's not going to be covered, yes.
Okay.
All right, number 25, Lisa Leonard.
I got A, local coverage determination.
Yes, A. 26, Lisa.
This is the one I didn't understand because it kept turning it around with the balance being adjusted 2 days, 3 days. Can you just kind of explain it to me?
Okay. Not sure what you mean by 2 days, 3 days, so on.
Well, at
but-
least 3 times the balance adjusted off after it's uncollectible, or at least once before the balance is adjusted to uncollectible. I couldn't figure it out.
Basically what they're saying is that you need to attempt 3 times to collect co-payment from a patient. Now ideally, we should be collecting at time of service when they walk through the door. But if we have to bill them, we have to attempt we have to send them a bill 3 times. And you have to show that you have made those attempts. So the first few times I will usually send it regular mail. In the first one, it's the standard 30 days, you have 30 days to pay this. The second time, I will put, 30 days past due and circle the amount. And then the third time, I will send a certified registered letter with the statement indicating how many days it's past due and so on. That's what they mean by making 3 attempts to collect and then making it uncollectible.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. True or false? Number 27. What is 27, Darla?
False.
False. What is 28, Angel?
True.
True. Emily, 29? True. True. 30, Lisa Leonard?
True.
True. And 31 is false. Medicare and Medigap claim is not called a crossover. All right. Then we move on to chapter 13, I believe. And if you look on page 283 in your study guide, you'll see an advanced beneficiary notice.
It shows you in your book too. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, let's turn to page 295 in your workbook. All right, fill in the blanks. Medicaid is administered by Lisa Leonard.
State government with partial federal funding.
Correct. Emily, number 2,
It's an assistant.
assistance program. Number 3, Lisa,
Medi-Cal?
Medi-Cal. All right. 4, Darla.
I'm sorry, I haven't gotten that far.
Okay, that's fine. Number 4 is coverage and benefits. Number 5, Angel.
State Children's Health Insurance Program and Maternal Child Health program.
Yes, and younger than 21 years.
Oh,
Number
yeah, and
6,
under 20.
A would be Medicaid Qualified Medicare Beneficiary Program. B would be Specified Low Income Medicare Beneficiary Program. And C would be Qualifying Individuals Program. What do you have for 7, Emily?
I have, I can't even read the word. I have medically needy and.
Categorically needy?
Yes, okay, thank you. I couldn't read what I
Medically
wrote.
needy and categorically needy. Number 8, you should have early and periodic screening, diagnosis, and treatment. It is abbreviated as EPSDT. Number 9, you should have date of authorization, name of the person who provided authorization, approximate time of day authorization was given, and verbal number given by field office. Number 10, Angel.
Medicaid claim varies from state to state.
It would be 2 months to 1 year, and then it depends on state laws, yes. Also, number 11 is CMS 1500, the 0805 health insurance claim form. Actually, it should probably be the 2000, no, for submitting Medicaid, it would be the CMS 1500 0805 version. Number 12, you would bill TRICARE first, and then bill Medicaid second. Make sure you attach a remittance advice, explanation of benefits, or check voucher from the TRICARE billing form. Number 13, the 5 categories, Lisa Leonard.
Overpayment, underpayment, approval after original claim denied, previously denied claim approved, and denied claim.
Okay, so you would have adjustments, approvals, denials, suspense, and audit and refund transactions. Number 14, the 3 levels would be Regional Fiscal Intermediary or Medicaid Bureau, Department of Social Welfare or Human Services, and the Appellate Court. Your multiple choice. 15, Angel.
C? I had a question mark by this one.
Yes, C. 16, Lisa.
C.
B?
C.
Nope, it's B. 17, Lisa Leonard.
Arizona.
Yes. 18, Emily.
All the above.
All of the above. 19, Lisa Leonard.
I got B for my first answer.
That is correct.
Yay.
Always go with your first answer. B is obtain prior authorization, preferably written. 20 is all of the above. What do you have for 21, Emily?
True.
True. 22, Lisa.
Both.
Yes. 23 is true. 24, Angel.
True.
And 25, Emily.
False.
True. 25 is true. All right, let's do a little critical thinking. I know I didn't have you do this exercise at home, but let's do it out loud in class. It's assignment 13-2, it's critical thinking. Mrs. Ho was suddenly experiencing pain in her right lower abdominal area and rushes to a local hospital for emergency care. Laboratory work verifies that she has a ruptured appendix and immediate surgery is recommended. Is prior authorization required in a bona fide emergency situation like this? Lisa Leonard?
No, because it's life-threatening.
Right, because it's an emergency and prior authorization is not needed. So, in referring to the instructions to fill out the CMS 1500 form, we want to make sure that we put the emergency date where. What data should be inserted in, let me just take a look here, hold on. In referring to the instructions for completing a CMS 1500 claim form for a Medicaid case, which two blocks on the CMS 1500 claim form need to be completed for emergency services? Who can look at their CMS 1500 form and tell me that? Just spit it out.
I'm totally lost where you are.
I am on page 298 in the study guide.
Yeah, right here.
I'm talking about the critical thinking exercise.
Where is the form?
Page 415.
Yep, you can look at 253. That would give you
Is it
in
number
your study
18?
guide.
For the box?
253 in your textbook.
It's just his health insurance plan.
Yep. So if you look at 253 in your textbook, it gives you a copy of the CMS 1500 form. Let's take a look. Okay. So if we look at the CMS 1500 form, all right, if you look in box 24, that's pretty much the bottom quarter of this form. It has 24A through J. And if you look in column C, 24C is where we would enter emergency information. It might be a letter, it might be a number, it might be a check mark, but basically for an emergency situation, 24C would indicate that it's emergency. It could be Y, or it could be N, it could be a check mark, depends on the payer. Actually, if you look, block 24,
On page 254 has an emergency one.
excellent, thank you very much. So you would put Y. If it was an emergency, look at page 254 in your textbook. At page 254, the health insurance claim form shows you if it's an emergency in 24C, you would put a Y. And then also, what would we put in block 19? What do you think we would put in block 19? Tell me, Emily. We would use additional information. We might include an attachment to the claim form with the data for the emergency. So we might include a report. We might briefly in a sentence put on there anything we feel might be helpful in submitting that claim form. All right, let's move on to chapter 14. So in your study guide on page 320, okay, is everyone with me on page 320 in the study guide?
Yep.
All right. So on page 320 in the study guide, for number 1, what do you have, Emily?
TRICARE.
Yes, TRICARE. Number 2, Lisa Leonard.
Sponsor,
And
service, or military retiree.
yes. Number 3 would be beneficiary. What do you have for number 4, Lisa?
I had trouble with 4, 5, and 6.
Okay.
So,
So 4 would be DEERS, a system for verifying an individual's TRICARE eligibility is called DEERS, or Defense Enrollment Eligibility Reporting System. For number 5, Mrs. Hancock, who is a beneficiary, lives 2 miles from a Uniformed Services medical treatment facility, but needs to be hospitalized for mental health care services at Orlando Medical Center, which is a civilian hospital. She would require non-availability statement, or also NAS. What that means in the military world is that their facility is not capable or not able to provide those services. So they would have to submit a form or authorization of non-availability statement. Basically, it gives the patient a statement to go to wherever they can get the services and have it covered. Okay, does that help?
yes.
All right, number 6. The TRICARE Standard and Veterans Health Administration, also known as CHAMP VA, the beneficiary identification cards are issued to dependents 10 years of age and older, survivors of active duty personnel, and retirees. The information must be obtained from the front and the back. So make yourself a note that when you photocopy the beneficiary's card, that it must be retained in their medical record, because like with any other insurance, if there's a problem with the coverage, you want to be able to have the copy there to be able to follow up on it. Number 7, Lisa Leonard.
Cooperative care and partnership.
Yes.
Oh, no. Yes? Okay.
Yes. Number 8, Angel.
150 and 100 per family.
It's actually 50 and 100.
50 and 100. Okay.
Yes. Number 9 is 150 and 300. Number 10, Emily.
I didn't get 10, 11, and 12.
Okay.
No. I had the 2 before that.
Okay. Number 10 is 20% and 80%. Number 11, Angel.
I didn't get that one.
Okay, Lisa.
150 and then 300 per family.
Yes.
And then I wrote 25%. I don't know why I wrote that, but I must have
Well,
seen it.
25% would be for the next one. Number 12 is 25% and 75%.
Yeah, I had that written down.
13 is TRICARE Prime. 14 is Civilian Health and Medical Program of the Veterans Administration, now known as Veterans Health Administration. 15, Veterans, and 16, Service Benefit. 17. A. Husband, wife, or unmarried child of a veteran with a total disability, permanent in nature, from a service-connected disability. So 17A is husband, wife, or unmarried child of a veteran with a total disability, permanent in nature, from a service-connected disability. B, husband, wife, or unmarried child of a veteran who died because of a service-connected disability, or who at the time of death had a total disability, permanent in nature, resulting from a service-connected disability. And C, husband, wife, or unmarried child of an individual who died in the line of duty while on active service. What do you have for 18, Lisa Leonard?
Privacy Act of 1974.
Yes. Privacy Act of 1974. Number 19, Lisa?
Please, I knew you were going to ask me, and I don't have that one.
I have that one, but not the next one.
I have the next
Okay,
one.
Angel, let's swap. You do 19.
Regional contractor.
Yes, fiscal intermediary, also known as regional contractor. So Lisa, do you have 20?
It's 1 year. Oh, it's point of service, and then inpatient is 1 year. Post of service?
Yeah.
No.
So 1 year from data service that is provided, and then 1 year from patient's discharge from hospital.
Oh, I thought I had it.
Okay. 21, Emily.
I had A.
21 is D. The TRICARE fiscal year begins October 1 and ends September 30. 22, Lisa Leonard.
Participating provider.
Actually, healthcare finder.
Nah.
A healthcare professional who helps a patient who is under the TRICARE standard program obtain pre-authorization for care is called a healthcare finder because they're helping the patient obtain the pre-op. 23, Emily.
Have B.
23 is A, catastrophic cap. 24, Lisa Leonard.
D.
All of the above, yes. And 25, Angel.
B.
B, 25 is B. And 26, Lisa.
True.
Yes. 27, Emily.
False.
27 is true because the beneficiaries are responsible if they use non-authorized physicians. 28, Angel.
False.
Yes. 29, Emily.
I have true.
It's false.
I have
29 is false. And 30, Lisa Leonard.
True.
Yes. True.
Doreen, can you tell me what 27 was again, please?
Yes, 27 was true.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
When we take our certificate test, is it all going to be multiple choice or fill in the blank?
All right, so on the national exam, you will not have any of this billing stuff, okay?
Oh.
Your billing grade will be all of the work that you do. Obviously, you don't need to turn in your study guide to me. I don't need to see it. But by the exams and stuff that I create on Evolve when we start the Buck Book, remember I said I'll have you do some small exams on the Ford book. all right,
Yes.
which may be 10 to 20 questions. That will be your grade for the billing portion. For the coding exam, the national exam, that will be everything from next week forward. And yes, it will be multiple choice, and it's a 5-hour and 40-minute exam. The clock does not stop for you, so if you have to get up and use the bathroom, you best go quickly.
How long does
Okay.
it take people?
5 hours and 40 minutes.
It does.
Yes, most people take 5 hours and 40 minutes. But
And
as
that's
we
only
move-
going to give us a certificate?
I'm sorry?
And 5 hours and 40 minutes is going to give us just a certificate?
No. By the time you finish this class, you will get a certificate for medical billing and coding. When
Okay.
you sit for the national exam, that national exam gives you a national certification, which means that you can work anywhere in the world, in the U.S. That's what your 5 hours and 40 minutes gives you.
Okay, thank you.
The chance
We
to
can all move to
pass
Bermuda.
with a 70% and get your certification nationally. So you would end up with CPCA designation after you first get your passing grade. And then within 2 years, you have the opportunity to work off the apprentice designation and then become a CPC. The more letters that you want to add to your name, the more tests you take. The one that I'm working on right now is compliance. So,
I didn't have to take any test for MRS.
oh good. Let's move on to chapter 15 in our textbook.
These aren't so long.
Page 481 in your textbook. We're going to start off with a little bit of history. Your first workers' compensation laws actually were enacted in 1911. So today, all of your states have workers' compensation laws. Your workers' compensation is one of the most important coverage written in the business world to ensure industrial accidents. Let's turn the page. There are two statutes. You have federal and state. Your federal compensation laws actually apply to your miners, your maritime workers, and your government workers. Your state compensation laws actually apply to your employers and the employees within each state. So on page 482, bottom left-hand corner, let's talk about workers' compensation reform. What these laws do is that they address systematic abuse and fraud. And you're going to find that laws vary from state to state. Some of the issues that are included in this are proof of medical necessity. Who can tell me what proof of medical necessity might mean? Lisa Leonard.
Well, you'd have to go to a doctor for proof.
What do you think provides that proof?
the examination and the form to fill out for that.
Yes. The initial encounter, intake, history, correct. Pre-authorization for treatment. How do we get pre-authorization for treatment? What do you think, Lisa?
Well, your primary care doctor is going to send it to the insurance company to get pre-authorization for a procedure that's going to be done, so they know they're going to get paid.
Okay. If it is a work-related accident, more often than not, the employer has a physician that they will send you to. They don't necessarily send you to your own primary care physician. They will send you to what they call their work comp doctor. And a lot of the places have work comp physicians or physicians on site specifically for that reason. How many of you have heard of Concentra? Concentra
Yes.
is one of the biggest places around here in the state of Maine that treat work-related injuries. So most employers send their injured employees to Concentra for that medical necessity piece, that pre-authorization. Now, keep this in mind, because this is not something that most employees are told. When you are injured on the job, for the first 10 days, you pretty much have to go where the employer tells you to go. So if they say to you, okay, I want you to go get checked out by the doctor at Concentra, you have to do that. After the 10 days, you can actually indicate where you want to go. So if you're a regular chiropractic patient and you've been hurt on the job, in those first 10 days, you cannot come see me and have it covered. More often than not, they deny it. But after the 10 days, they can come into the office and say, I'm coming in, I've been hurt on the job, but they also have to go back to the Concentra doctor and say, look, I've had really great experience with chiropractic care, and I would like a referral to go see my chiropractor. What that means is that the chiropractor now will get covered, will be paid for that care, and it will be monitored actually a little more closely because the Concentra docs, I can tell you right now, don't usually like to send their patients to chiropractors. There's a lot of, what do I want to say, hoopla out there about, chiropractors not being real doctors, and, everyone has their own opinion, and that's fine. But what you have to keep in mind is that these work comp doctors basically are looking to give you a Band-Aid to mask the symptoms. So that could be a painkiller to help with some of the pain, not necessarily always, doing the swelling. They like to get you into PT and drug you up to mask the symptoms before they will refer you out to any other place. Chiropractor and osteopath are one of the last places they actually want to send you. So just keep in mind as an employee, if you end up anywhere and you end up getting hurt within the first 10 days, yes, you have to go where the employer tells you to go. But after that, it is your right. Remember that. It is your right to ask to be seen somewhere else, to go for care somewhere else. Okay? Were you ever told that in your job?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that you could do that?
Yeah.
Good. Because not many places will tell you that.
No, they did.
Okay, medical bill review. This happens with work comp and personal injury cases all the time. It is really a good idea if you want to get paid in a timely fashion that when you send your claims out for payment, you attach the notes for that day. So send the claim with the notes. might even be a cap on vocational rehabilitation, which means they might only let you have so many visits, or they might only pay a certain number of visits, or pay up to a certain dollar amount. Use of mediators. Why do you think they would need to use a mediator, Angel?
Because like the doctor might prescribe one thing that they want the care to be done this way, and then you might feel different about, what care you're getting.
Right.
Also, like if you run out of the times that you can go see a certain doctor, then they need to have like a mediation to find out if you medically still need the extra.
Right. So let's move on to purposes of the workers' compensation laws. The purpose of the workers' compensation laws are really put there to provide the best medical care to you as the patient. They want to make sure that you recover to your maximum medical potential. They also will provide income to you regardless of fault. It also helps to reduce overall expenses, resolution time, and litigation. It also encourages the employer to have workplace safety, and it promotes the study of workplace accidents and hazards and facilitates improvements within the workplace. Over on page 483, underneath self-insurance, this is where the company pays for medical expenses instead of insurance premiums. This is known as ERISA. The employee is covered by ERISA. They have some stop loss provisions that might be included, which basically means what, Lisa?
I'm really sorry, but I was reading the paragraph, so I didn't hear what you said.
Okay, on page 483.
Yeah, I'm right there.
Stop loss provisions. What might be some of the stop loss provisions included? Do they indicate that in the paragraph?
I don't see it. All right, you're gonna have to save me here.
It's the next paragraph down.
Third paragraph down.
Becomes active on claims or a set dollar limit per policy year on an employee, depending,
Yes.
right?
Yep, good. Excellent.
Thank you for your help.
Yes. Thank you, ladies, for helping. All right. With the self-insurance, the program might also involve reinsurance on large claims. With captive insurance plans, this usually serves a smaller set of companies, your smaller employee companies, and your outside firms may actually administer the claim processing when this happens. Eligibility, 483 to 484. Eligibility, we see eligibility in private business, which would include state and federal employees who are usually entitled to workers' compensation coverage. A workplace accident that results in an injury is covered, and illness or disease that results from environmental factors in the workplace are covered. Underneath coverage on page 484, there are federal laws, and those federal laws are for government employees, such as your postal workers and your FBI agents, any workers who are in Washington, your coal miners, and your maritime workers, such as your longshoremen and your harbor workers. Our state laws provide provisions that cover workers that are not covered by federal laws. The employer must purchase workers' compensation insurance, usually from a private company, or be self-insured with an adequate cash reserve. Your employer must also have employer's liability insurance. Also underneath the state laws, it provides coverage for minors, which is most effective outside of the state. It will also provide coverage for civil defense and other volunteer workers. The employer and physician requirements for filling injury reports usually varies by state and by territory. In the state of Maine, it's an M1 form that needs to be filled out if you get hurt on the job and you go see a physician. A second injury fund, which is called a subsequent injury fund, covers employees with previous injury or condition who is injured on the job. It encourages hiring of the physically handicapped and allocates benefit costs more equitably. Usually underneath the state laws, you have to have a minimum number of employees. This also varies by state and territory. There are some occupations that are exempted. The waiting periods, usually the required time, must elapse before income benefits are payable. We are over on page 488. Bottom right-hand column of page 488, the benefits usually include medical treatment, temporary disability indemnity, permanent disability indemnity, death benefits of the survivors, and rehabilitation benefits. Some types of state claims over on page 489 are you might see a non-disability claim. A non-disability is a minor injury that requires medical attention, but the employee is still able to work. Temporary disability, you're unable to perform your work duties for a specific time period. And permanent disability means that you're unable to return to previous occupation due to a residual disability. Both federal and state frown upon fraud and abuse over on page 491. Physicians are responsible for determining the legitimacy of work injuries and accurately reporting their findings. All of the individuals who deal with workers' compensation cases must report suspicious situations to an insurance carrier. Over on the right-hand column of page 491, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration Act of 1970. What does this act do, Lisa Leonard?
It protects employees against on-the-job health and safety hazards.
Yes. And your complaint procedure actually enables the individual to pursue enforcement measures in their workplace, as well as non-compliance with work standards by your employer can result in fines. And this usually applies to most of your businesses. Let's turn over to page 494 and talk about some legal situations. What is the medical evaluator, Lisa?
It's how physicians conduct medical and legal evaluations of injured workers, must pass a complex medical examination. They are then certified by the Industrial Medical Council and may be referred to as one of the following: agreed medical evaluator, independent medical evaluator, and qualified medical evaluator.
Excellent. What are depositions, Angel?
It's a proceeding in which an attorney asks a witness question about a case and the witness answers under oath but not in open court.
Right. And what is medical testimony, Darla?
In the instance of an accident case with third-party liability, a physician may have to testify as an expert witness. He has to give information on deposition or attend a pretrial conference.
Very good. And Emily, what is a lien over on page 495? Tell me what a lien is.
And the right of a lien expresses legal claim on the property of another for the payment of the debt. Liens, and that says what they're sometimes
That's good.
called.
No, that's good. A lien is a legal claim on the property of another for the payment of debt. What happens in personal injury cases, when a personal injury comes into the office, we have them sign an assignment of lien. If you turn the page to 496, you'll see an example there. And basically what we do with that lien is we fill it out to the insurance company and the attorney, and it makes sure that at the end of the treatment, if the med pay does not kick in and pay the provider, and the insurance claims aren't sent to the health insurance and been paid, that upon settlement, the attorney and or insurance make sure that you, the provider, get paid. There's definitely advantages to having a lien because the court recognizes that it's a written agreement. So it definitely does provide protection in the event of litigation, and it does help to ensure payment for medical services.
Is this lien held by the physicians? Is this what you're saying?
Yes.
And are they the physicians that are hired by workers' comp or the individual's choice physician?
The individual's choice physician.
Thank you.
Third-party subrogation. What is third-party subrogation over on page 497, Lisa Leonard?
To substitute one party for another?
Yes. This is where Maine is a no-fault state. So basically, if you're in a personal injury case, it is our policy that we go after your insurance. We submit claims to your insurance, and they in turn will go after the other driver. So the two insurances battle it out based on the accident report as to whose fault it was. And once they determine what's going on, the other driver's insurance will pay for the injured party's services, but we go after the injured person's insurance so that payment is more immediate. And that's not illegal to do. Medical reports over on the right-hand column of 497. This is basically health information record keeping, whether it is electronic or paper. You're going to maintain a separate medical record from the financial ledger. You want to keep appointments for occupational injury or illness separate from unrelated matters. You want to keep documentation or dictation for each appointment separate. Terminology. Most of your workers' compensation cases involve accidents causing bodily injury. So become very familiar with anatomic terms, directional and range of motion words, type of fractures, body activity terms, and words that describe pain and symptoms. Reporting requirements over on page 499. The employer must file a report within a specified time limit. A medical service order is where that which authorizes a physician to treat the injured employee. So the employer submits a form, it's called the M1 form. It has to be filled out and completed, a work injury form, and then the physician authorized the injured to the employer actually authorizes the employee that they can go to see a doctor, and they'll be responsible for it. It might even be, Concentra, but they're still authorizing them to go get checked out by the employer physician. The physician's first report, it must be completed M1 form with a narrative letter after the exam. The original goes to the insurance carrier, and then copies go to your state agency, your patient's employer, and the physician's file. Any progress or supplemental report should be sent to the insurance carrier after 2 to 4 weeks of treatment to note the current status. Over on page 500, you'll see an example. The progress report is then sent to the insurance carrier if there is significant change in prognosis or status. And then obviously final report goes to all three. Claim submission over on page 503. This is financial responsibility. Your workers' compensation insurance is billed for all of the expenses. The physician agrees to accept payment according to the carrier's fee schedule, and then the patient's health insurance information should also be obtained and filed in case of non-related medical expenses. Your fee schedules, they may follow workers' compensation or Medicare fee schedule. Some include maximum reimbursement amounts. And then your employer, your state agency, your insurance carrier, or your payer may actually audit or review the fees that you submit on the claim forms. There is electronic claims as well as paper claims. Your workers' comp are still being sent on paper. Out-of-state claims over on page 508. When you're sending claims out of state, you want to follow regulations for the state in which the injured worker was hired. You want to also obtain and follow the out-of-state fee schedule for billing purposes. Your delinquent or slow pay claims over on page 509. You want to phone the patient's employer to verify information. You want to send a copy of the claim form and the itemized account statement to the carrier. You want to phone the insurance carrier after 45 days and request expected date of payment. You want to send an employer a copy of financial account statement with outstanding balance, and contact state board if employer fails to file the employer's work injury. Any questions for chapter 15? Okay, let's move on to 16. Chapter 16, on page 517 in your textbook, deals with disability income insurance and disability benefit programs. So disability claims. Your disability claims fall under disability income. So for those of you who are employed, have been employed, you have what's called long-term disability and short-term disability. So these benefits are provided under certain conditions when you, the insured, is unable to work due to illness, disease, or injury. It does not provide benefits if the insured is unable to work as a result of a work-related event. Turn the page to 518. A little bit of history. What happened in 1880 for disability? Who can tell me what happened in 1880? Lisa Leonard?
Insurance companies began selling disability income policies that offered coverage for accidental illness.
Yes. And in the early 1900s, we saw the first non-cancelable policy. And what is a non-cancelable policy, Lisa?
It means you can't cancel it in the midst of it. Like we have that at my husband's work. We have to go the full year and renew. Can't stop in the middle.
Right. In 1956, Congress actually extended Social Security program to the disabled adults over 50 years old. And in 1965, the Social Security program actually expanded to cover workers regardless of age. So individual disability income insurance provides a specific income if a person is disabled. It also pays the premiums for the insured. Your medical expenses are not covered, but your disability must not be work-related, and you as the insured must meet specific policy criteria. The waiting period, what is the waiting period, Angel?
Let's see. The time period from the beginning of disability to receiving the first payment of benefits is called an elimination period or waiting period. During this initial period, a disabled individual is not eligible to receive benefits even though he or she is unable to work.
Okay. What is the benefit period, Darla?
I'm sorry, I just got back. I had to powder my nose.
Okay. So the benefit period is maximum span of benefit that will be paid to the disabled party. Some of the benefits are residual, supplemental, and accidental death and dismemberment. So on page 518, the benefits that might be received, what are residual benefits, Lisa?
They pay for partial benefit when the insured is not totally disabled.
Okay. What are supplemental benefits, Angel?
May consist of insurance provisions that will increase monthly indemnity, such as a future purchase option or a cost of living adjustment.
Right. And then we have accidental death and dismemberment, which is a special clause that addresses accidents that result in death or permanent disability. Some types of disability that we see might be total, partial, or temporary. What is total disability, Lisa Leonard?
I would guess total non-use of hand. I can't see it in the book, I'm sorry.
Someone cannot perform most normal work duties. When it's total disability, a person cannot perform most of their normal work duties. For partial disability, the person cannot perform all normal work duties. And temporary means person cannot perform all normal work duties for a limited period of time. Some of the clauses in the policies can be guaranteed renewable or non-cancelable with a waiver of the premium. Some of your exclusions are examples that pre-existing conditions, mental conditions, or other disabilities. And the AIDS, HIV, there must be a consent and notice form that is needed for testing. Now, underneath the group, some of your employers offer this as an optional benefit. So the contracts are between the insurer and the employer. Your employer will pay the primary, and then you might have to or might not have any contributions. The policy usually terminates when you, the employee, leaves the company. The disability benefit programs over on page 520, you have Social Security disability, supplemental security income, civil service retirement system, federal employee retirement system, armed services disability, and veteran affairs disability program. What is Social Security disability insurance, Angel?
It manages 2 programs that pay monthly disability benefits to people younger than age 65 who cannot work for at least a year because of a severe disability, SSDI and SSI. Medical requirements are the same for both programs.
Yes. And what is civil service and federal employee retirement system disability? Lisa Leonard? Over on page 521.
I'm reading the paragraph over again.
Okay.
What was the question now that I forgot?
Tell me what civil service and federal employee retirement system disability is.
A combination of federal disability and Social Security disability?
Yes. Yes. And it's payable for life to individuals who qualify. What are your armed services disability, Lisa?
Individuals covered under a program must be a member of the armed services on active duty who suffer a disability or an illness.
Yes. All right, state disability insurance on page 523. For non-industrial disability insurance programs, this exists in only 5 states and Puerto Rico. To fund the programs, a percentage of your wages are deducted from paychecks, or the employer actually pays the plan cost. Usually, eligibility ceases upon your retirement. What are some of the restrictions on a state disability insurance? Over on page 526, some of the restrictions, you might have a time limit for filing exceeded, condition covered under workers' compensation insurance, unemployment benefits beyond a specified amount, employer has a voluntary disability plan and does not participate in the state plan. Your voluntary disability insurance is designed for persons who actually reside and work in states that don't have a state disability insurance program. Your local private insurance carrier will arrange the coverage, and if you are disabled, the person who receives the fixed weekly or monthly income, it usually is for 6 months. Your claim submission guidelines for disability income claims. The person must provide completed proof of loss to establish disability. The attending physician usually must complete portions of the form, and medical report may be attached to the form for additional explanation of disability and treatment. Your disability income claims, federal disability claims. Over on page 527, bottom left-hand corner. Your federal disability claims are your SSA, Social Security Administration. Usually has a teledictation service for the physician so that they can dictate the medical report directly over the phone. They will only allow data that is less than 1 year old, and the prognosis should be based on medical findings, and the claim should include the functional assessment of work-related activities. What is functional assessment, Darla?
Without reading anything, it sounds as though it's what the employee is capable of doing. If it equals to the job requirements.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Okay.
So it's very similar to what we call ADL, activities of daily living.
Okay.
Okay? So a functional outcome assessment basically is asking the patient, are you able to lift anything over 10 pounds? And if you do, can you do it with or without pain? Can you do it, for 10 minutes at a time, half an hour at a time, or all day long? All right. So basically, they ask you 10 questions about standing, lifting, sitting, probably pushing, pulling, whatever your job entails. There's a functional assessment. Okay. Your Veterans Affairs Disability Outpatient Clinic claims. The processing of the claims is usually long and complicated. When you consider billing the VA monthly to avoid payment delays, and also follow instructions on the patient's ID card closely. For state disability claims, over on page 528, residents of states with disability benefits must obtain claim forms from the nearest state filing office. Your physician must substantiate the disability for claim to be processed, and additional forms and filings may be required if the disability is prolonged. And you see in your book, they give you multiple examples of the different types of forms that the physicians have to fill out for certification of disability and what kind of claim forms they fill out. Any questions?
I got one.
Sure.
Does Maine have that state disability claim?
Yes, they do.
Is this all one form?
Yeah. No.
I was going to say, wow.
Oh. No, they're individual forms. Do we want to take a quick break?
Good.
I
Thank
did.
you.
Let's take a quick break, 5 minutes. Get up, stretch. And I don't have Barbara Henke on the line, right? All right, ladies. Volume okay?
It's fine over here.
Yeah. Liz? Love it.
Fine.
Love it, love it, love it. All right. Chapter 17, hospital billing. We are really not going to spend a whole lot on chapter 17 because hospital billing, honestly, does not vary that far from what we're doing as outpatient billing, okay? And if you want to come back for a hospital billing class, I teach that too. But
That's my goal.
we will gloss over hospital billing. So let's turn to page.
Did you say it doesn't jive with it?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Did you say it didn't jive with the regular billing?
Oh, no.
Oh.
I said it's very similar to outpatient billing. It's just outpatient billing is for a smaller type of office or facility, whereas hospital billing is huge.
Yeah, okay.
Okay?
Now, when they do hospital billing out, do they do like different categories, like under cardio or like or is it just everything's combined?
No. They actually have different workers, different staff that do the different areas.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And believe it or not, quite a bit can be outsourced. Have you heard about McKesson? Have you heard of McKesson?
Yeah. Yeah, I used to do the ordering for work.
Okay. So tell us what you had to do at McKesson.
They had like different lot numbers and stuff. You'd have to go around and do inventory, and then people leave you notes if there was something that they were lack of. And there was a lot of, like, we would fill out the order, but the big boss did, the money part of it.
Okay. So what McKesson hires for staff is they hire people who come and sit in a cubicle and basically pushes out as many claims as they can in any given day. So you're trained how to bill and code claims, but you're also expected to do a certain amount every single day. And you're supposed to fill a quota. I wouldn't want
And
to.
they're pretty complicated when those come in to follow up on the order.
They're doing all types of areas. They're not specializing in one area. They take on clients from all over the country. That's what McKesson does. So it's really one large billing service. Okay? And they go out and they get these providers who want to outsource their billing. So, all right, so patient accounts rep. So remember at the beginning of the class, I told you when you leave this course, you will have a certificate in both medical billing and coding. So here I am pacing already. So look at how your job, what is the title of your job? So you could be a patient account rep. You could be a medical biller. You could be a billing specialist. You could be a claims specialist. So you're going to have to go out there and just search for what looks like something you're interested in doing. Okay? It's not going to all be under medical billing and coding or medical biller. They're going to name it half a dozen things, and it's up to you to go find it. So, some of the qualifications for patient account representative is to be knowledgeable and competent in ICD-9, coming up ICD-10, and ICD-10, not only CM, but ICD-10 PCS. These are all diagnostic codes. How many of you received your ICD-9 books?
I did.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I
I
did.
got the HCPCS and the CPT.
All right, so I know at the beginning of the class I held up this big spiral-bound ICD-9 book. So how many of you got one of these? This is an ICD-9 book.
That's what I got.
So
What'd you get?
Mine is like the condensed version. It's got tabs in it.
Okay.
Well, it's not condensed. It's not condensed. It's the 215. But they also sent a note along with it, said that they were all out of the original books, so these were what they were sending out.
This one?
I think maybe.
Well, it's ICD-9,
Yep, that's it.
and it's 2015. It's volumes 1, 2, and 3.
Yes.
That's what I have.
that.
Okay. So this is probably what you are getting if you haven't gotten it already. I still do not have mine.
Are
So,
those the ICD-9 books that we're going to keep, or are they going to send us different ones?
nope, these are the ones you're going to keep.
It's so small.
It's actually packed jam full with a bunch of information, and we'll be able to go through all of it.
What happened to ICD-10?
You have to learn ICD-9 first. ICD-10 is even part of this course.
Okay.
We're only going to cover it in Chapter 2, and we're going to just introduce you to it so you're aware of it. Some of your other qualifications for being a patient account rep is CPT and HCPCS procedure codes. Most of you have received your CPT book, and some have received a HCPCS book. Your HCPCS book might actually look like that ICD-9 book I just showed you. Your CPT book, I know, is probably a spiral-bound book.
Yeah.
I think most of you have received that, and it's like a orange and white one cover, maybe. You also want to be knowledgeable about the CMS 1500 insurance claim form. And in the hospital, it would be a UB04 insurance claim form. You want to be able to read an explanation of benefits and a remittance advice document. You want to have knowledge of medical terminology and also have a medical dictionary available. Know your major health insurance programs, your managed care plans, the insurance claim submission, how do you submit the claims, and how do you follow up on denied and delinquent claims. On page 547, appropriateness evaluation protocols. Appropriateness evaluation protocols. What is that, Lisa Leonard?
Sorry, keep reading it backwards.
Okay, so 547, top right-hand column. Hospitals must meet appropriateness evaluation protocols, also known as AEPs, by the hospital's utilization review or UR department to certify that the patient's complaints meet the hospital's guidelines to warrant admission to the hospital. A hospital AEP for admission example can be found in figure 17-2. So figure 17-2 is on page 150. So basically they're looking at the severity of the illness and the intensity of the service. That is what helps them to determine the appropriateness for evaluation. that different from when a patient comes into your office for treatment, whatever office that might be. You also have to establish the appropriateness of their visit there. You're just doing it in a little different fashion. You might not have a whole protocol in place like the hospitals do, because your hospitals have to be more compliant. So regulations, HIPAA, OSHA, all of those things. You still have to do that also as a smaller practice, but it's even more complex in a hospital setting, in a larger setting. Group homes, hospices, nursing homes, these large places. The admitting procedures for major insurance programs, there's usually a pre-authorization. Your private insurance could be group or individual. Turn over to page 550. Your commercial insurance and your managed care, they might have an emergency inpatient admission or a non-emergency inpatient admission and elective admission. Your Medicare and Medicaid, TRICARE and workers' comp. Again, you're going to have to know what your insurance programs authorize or allow, what is covered under each plan. It's as simple as calling them up and finding out, Mary Smith is here, she has appendicitis, we need to admit her to the hospital. Does it fall under, Medicare that we need a pre-authorization, or can we just admit her? Is that correct, Emily? But again, also keep in mind, because it's an emergency situation, we might not need prior authorization. Some pre-admission testing over on 551. You might have diagnostic studies, laboratory tests, chest x-rays, electrocardiograph. Over on the bottom of page 551, Medicare has a 3-day payment window rule, or a 72-hour rule. If the patient receives diagnostic tests and hospital outpatient services within 72 hours of admission to a hospital, all of the tests and services are combined with the inpatient services. Your pre-admission services become part of the DRG payment to the hospital, and they may not be billed separately. Turn the page to 552. Some of the exceptions to this 72-hour rule. Services that are provided by home health agencies, hospice, nursing facilities, and ambulance services. The physicians, the professional portion of the diagnostic service, that's an exception. A pre-admission testing at an independent lab when the laboratory has no formal agreement with the healthcare facility, that is an exception. On the bottom of page 552, utilization review. There are departments within the hospital that conduct an admission and concurrent review and actually prepares a discharge plan on all of the cases. Your UR, or your utilization review company, exists specifically for self-insured employers, your third-party administrators, and your insurance companies. Over on the bottom right column of page 552, your QIOP, or your QIO program, is called Quality Improvement Organization. What you actually see underneath the QIO program are reviews. And under those reviews, you will see an admission review. You will see a readmission review. You will see a procedure review, a day outlier, cost outlier, our DRG validation, and a transfer review. What is an admission review, Lisa Leonard?
Appropriateness and necessity of admissions.
Yes. What would be a readmission review, Angel?
When patients are readmitted within 7 days with problems related to the first admission to determine whether the first charge was premature or the second admission is medically necessary.
Yes. What about procedure review, Emily?
Diagnostic and therapeutic procedures in cases in which past use is found to determine appropriateness.
Yes. What is a day outlier review, Darla?
It is the review of short or unusually long lengths of hospital stays to determine the number of days before the outlier threshold is reached, as well as the number of days beyond the threshold.
Very good. So let's compare this to what would happen in an outpatient setting. Well, obviously we wouldn't have an admission review, but we would have a medical necessity review. The patient walks in, they come in for low back pain. They're not being admitted, obviously, because it's an outpatient office, but the reason that they're there for the visit would be reviewed. Is it medically necessary? And then the procedure review. So, is the documentation that the doctor gave me supporting the procedures that he performed on that initial evaluation, on that initial exam? So you have similar things happening in an outpatient setting, maybe not as many. Coding hospital diagnoses and procedures on page 553. Again, you're going to use your ICD-9 books, your ICD-10 books, your CPT, and your HCPCS, and your ICD-10 PCS. Who can tell me what ICD stands for? Emily.
International.
Over on page 554, International Classification of Diseases, 9th revision, clinical modification. When you're coding principal diagnosis, it will be the first listed diagnosis on page 553, top right-hand column. Principal diagnosis is the first listed diagnosis. This is the reason that the patient is seeking medical care. Guess what? It's the same thing in the outpatient setting. On the outpatient claim, it's known as the reason for the encounter. Your principal diagnoses are subject to 100% review. So someone who has arteriosclerosis heart disease, diabetes mellitus without complications, right or left bundle branch block, or coronary arteriosclerosis, those are all reviewed 100%. Why do you think that is, Lisa?
I'm here, but can you ask me the question again?
Why do you think that is? Why do they review those 100%?
Because they want to make sure that there's no errors and they're not being charged for things that didn't happen.
Because of the risk factor involved.
Yeah.
If you think about those three things again, those four things, arteriosclerosis, diabetes mellitus, bundle branch block, coronary arteriosclerosis, those are all pretty high risky situations. When you're coding inpatient procedures, again, you're going to be using your ICD-9 Volume 3 and ICD-10 PCS. Some of the character definitions on page 555. I'm not going to go into the character definitions for ICD-10. Coding your hospital outpatient procedures. Over on page 557. This is your HCPCS books. The Healthcare Common Procedure Coding System Level 1 Current Procedural Terminology Coding System. It is said just like you see it, HCPCS, HCPCS. This is you use this for up-to-date current procedural terminology. CPT is current procedural terminology. HCPCS, this is to use medical procedural codes for Medicare and some non-Medicare patients on outpatient hospital insurance claim forms that are not in the CPT book. So usually if you cannot find a code in the CPT book, it will be in the HCPCS book. And we will be going over that in more detail in the Buck book. We also have modifiers noted to use in the CPT and HCPCS guidelines. They give you figure 17-4 on page 556. It gives you an inpatient billing process. And review that. Over on page 559, a charge description master. This is a services and procedures list that is checked off and coded internally. The data would include the procedure code, the charge, and the revenue code. Over on page 561, reimbursement process or reimbursement methods. You have ambulatory payment classifications. Turn to page 562. You have bed leasing, capitation or percentage of revenue. You have a case rate. You have a contract rate. You have DRGs, differential by day in the hospital, and differential by service type. And it goes on to talk about fee for service, fee schedule, per diems. You guys can continue to read the rest. We'll go over those in depth more. Hard copy billing. This is used for insurance companies that are not capable of receiving electronic claims. When you receive payment, after receipt of payment, the patient gets sent a bill, which lists the amount owed. It could be because of deductible, coinsurance amount, or just plain charges not covered. Over on page 564, you have emergency department visits, elective surgeries. Only your outpatient services that are provided by the hospital should be submitted by the hospital unless the hospital is billing for physicians. When you use the hospital for surgical or medical consultations, that also could be done in a physician's office. If you could do it in the hospital, you really should avoid doing that if you can do it in the office. Some billing problems on page 565. Some billing problems, as we have mentioned before, incorrect name on a form, a wrong subscriber, the patient name is listed in error, covered days versus non-covered days, duplicate statements, double billing, phantom charges. The UBO4 form has been used since 1982 for both inpatient and outpatient claims. It was updated in 2007. It is actually considered a summary document that is supported by an itemized bill. It's usually printed in red ink on white paper, and the dates of service, the monetary amounts are entered without spaces or decimal points. The dates of birth are usually entered using 2 sets of 2-digit months for the numbers for the month, the day, and 4-digit numbers for the year. Over on page 567, the Medicare Severity Diagnosis Related Group System. This is designed to increase the reimbursement for sicker patients. Your diagnoses are assigned values that commiserate with severity of illness. So remember when I was speaking earlier about the second diagnosis in a chiropractic office might allow you 24 visits. That's what we're talking about. Your Medicare claims can be split into a maximum of 3 payment tiers. The reimbursement crosswalk will actually identify an ICD-9 code that corresponds to an ICD-10 code, and that's not something we have to worry a lot about with this particular course right now. We will talk about this more when we talk about ICD-10. Over on page 568, diagnosis-related groups in the physician's office. When you're calling the hospital to admit a patient, you want to give all of the diagnoses authorized by the physician. Ask the physician to review the treatment or the procedure in question when the hospital representative calls with questions. Make sure you get to know the hospital personnel on a first-name basis. The ambulatory payment classification system on page 569. This was developed as outpatient classification systems by the Health System International. It's also based on patient classification rather than disease classifications. There are more than 500 APCs that are continually being modified, updated, and released twice a year in the Federal Register. You will find your ambulatory codes in your HCPCS book. Your APCs are applied to the following areas, and they have it listed in your book, but just to throw a few out there. Your ambulatory surgical procedures, your clinic visits, your implants, some outpatient services that are furnished to the nursing facility patients, but not packaged into nursing facility consolidated billing. Some types of ambulatory payment classifications over on page 569 on the bottom. You will see surgical procedures. Over on 570, significant procedures, medical, and ancillary. If you look on page 17-7, they give you a CMS 1450, also known as a UBO4. There are some procedures in the back of the chapter that can be done on claim forms, but you don't need to do those, any of those. Any questions on this chapter? All right, moving right along. Last chapter. hard to believe we're through this book already. Seeking a job and attaining professional advancement. So, I mentioned earlier in the beginning of chapter 17, when you're looking for a job, your insurance and billing job choices, what might be insurance billing specialist. It might be electronic claims processor, Medicare or Medicaid billing specialist, claims assistant professional, coding specialist, freelance or employed, or physician coding specialist, a PCS. I'm on page 589 in your textbook. Your certified coders and insurance billers also may be considered a CMBS, Certified Medical Billing Specialist, a CMRS, Certified Medical Reimbursement Specialist, a CPC, Certified Professional Coder, an apprentice, a CPCA, or a hospital coder, a CPCH, a Certified Coding Specialist, a CCS, Certified Coding Specialist for Physicians, CCSP, Certified Electronic Claim Processor, CECP. Keep in mind, the more characters you add after your name, the more continuing education units you need to keep up with every few years. The list goes on. Certified Claims Assistant Professional, Facility Coding Specialist, Healthcare Reimbursement Specialist, National Certified Insurance Coding Specialist, and a Registered Medical Coder. So you understand what I mean now when I say there could be multiple ways to look for these jobs. Now, just because you become a CPC doesn't mean you're only qualified to search for jobs for a CPC. You are qualified to look at any of these jobs. So for your job search on 590, join a professional organization. When it comes time at the end of the course and you sign up for your national exam, you will have a membership with the AAPC, which is the American Academy of Professional Coders. No, American Association of Professional Coders. You can attend meetings and workshops to get you some of your CEUs. You can contact placement personnel like Bonnie Staffing and what are some of the others around? I can't remember right now off the top of my head. But you can contact them to see what's out there in your field. Indeed.com is one of the biggest sites right now for healthcare jobs. Spread the word. Start talking to people that you know, family and friends, that, hey, I'm currently in the medical billing and coding course through the Academy of Medical Professions. I'd really love an opportunity to be able to job shadow in your office, or if you know of anyone looking for a professional coder, just spread the word what you're doing. You might even contact some pharmaceutical reps because they are in doctors' offices. You can share with them your contact information. And also inquire at the federal and state employment agencies because we have state hospitals. You can also seek part-time employment, check bulletin boards in the hospital and clinic offices, check with your local medical society, consult phone books or medical society rosters for the professional offices or hospitals, send out a blind mailing, check the $1 Million Directory, visit the Chamber of Commerce, check the newspapers, watch telephone job hotlines for large medical clinics. You can even do some cold calls, attend job fairs. If you're gonna do some online searching, explore the internet. Employment websites, search engines, Yahoo, Google, job banks, databases, bulletin board postings, believe it or not, Craigslist, under healthcare, jobs wanted, computerized job search companies. When you fill out your application on page 592, here's some guidelines to prepare your application. Read the whole application form. I'm serious. Read the whole application form. Read the fine print and the instructions. Believe it or not, 99% of the time, when you fill out a job application, they're looking for the fact, did you follow instructions? Because if you didn't follow instructions, why would someone want to hire you if you can't follow instructions on filling out a job application? Okay? Print and be careful of abbreviating. Complete the application in ink. And do not say, see attached resume. They give you a job application so that you can fill out the job application, not so you can say, see my attached resume. Use data from your portfolio. You have a sample application form or resume that you've checked for accuracy. Make sure it's accurate and clear. List the correct dates of previous employment. Name your specific skills. Use negotiable or flexible for a salary amount. Sign the application and reread the entire form. Okay? Some suggested content for a letter of introduction. You might want to spend time and effort preparing a cover letter. Don't use generic cover letters. Address them as to a specific individual. Do not repeat everything in your resume and your cover letter. And reread the letter for typos and grammatical errors, and avoid the use of I in your sentence structure. You will see that they have chronological resumes, a functional resume, and a combination resume. Figure 18-6 gives you one of the most used types of resumes that are out there right now. Your resume format, I'm not going to go over that with you. I think many of us have written many resumes or just have started. For the interview process, when you're preparing for an interview, concentrate on good grooming and being fresh and a relaxed look. Definitely not how I am dressed right now.
Okay, thank you.
Wear appropriate clothing. Eliminate nervous habits. So if you're a fidgeter, hold your hands. Try not to cross your legs.
Or a
Sit
pacer.
up straight. Don't slouch. Make eye contact. Don't chew gum. Take out any piercings. Research possible salaries for that position. Practice interviewing with a friend. Choose a good time. Make sure you arrive promptly. And prepare a portfolio. After the interview, shake the interviewer's hand before you leave. And ask the interviewer when a decision will be made, and thank them. Write a follow-up letter, and then telephone the interviewer. If in the interview you are asked about your marital status, your family planning, are you pregnant, do you have provisions for child care, what is your religious preference, do you have any club memberships, what is your height and weight, what are your dependents, and what is your age? Those are all illegal interview questions. Yes. That is illegal.
So what if they ask you, tell me a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so Lisa Leonard, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Are you supposed to tell them, well, I have 2 kids, I live in an apartment, I like to go fishing, I go to church every Sunday? Any of those things I'm not supposed to say?
Well, that's how they get you. Okay?
Okay,
It's not that
that's
you
what I
don't
was.
have to say it, okay? It's really how comfortable you are with sharing that much about yourself right up front. So what I would say is that I'm a highly motivated individual who loves to work in healthcare, and this job seems like the perfect fit for me.
Okay.
Okay? Becoming self-employed. Well, I did that over 12 years ago because I wanted to be able to stay at home with my children. So I started in healthcare over 20 years ago. I started out actually at the VA Medical Center down in Virginia. And then when I moved back home, I ended up at the VA Center in Togus and spent several years there before moving back to Sanford with my husband. And we decided that with 2 kids, it just really wasn't financially feasible for me to continue working when my paycheck really was going to go to taking care of daycare. So I decided to stay at home, which meant that my skill set was really going to be not used anymore. So I always knew that I wanted to get back into healthcare. I just didn't know at what point and where I would end up. So it was about the time that our youngest, started kindergarten. And I started volunteering in a chiropractic office. And really, it was at that time, once she started first grade, I was able to work mom's hours. So after volunteering and then being able to work mom's hours for probably a couple of years, I learned every aspect of the practice and decided that I could create for myself a business that I could go out and help these other offices with what I offer. So with my experience in the administrative side of healthcare and then learning all of the billing and coding aspect and the clinical administrative side with patients, I felt that being self-employed was the best thing for me. It allowed me to continue to stay home with my children, and I was able to go work in an office and be home for them at the end of the day. So probably after a couple of years in that office is when I started my business. So yes, gaining experience, getting sufficient funds to run the business for 1 year or more. I have not taken out one loan. I have basically made it work with the clients that I have, and all of my clients are referred by word of mouth. I have not done any advertising. I have a business card, I have a Facebook page, but all of my business is word of mouth. So networking. I belong to my state association for chiropractic assistants. I actually was just nominated president. I've been on the board for 11 years, and I received an award from the Maine Chiropractic Association, which is all the doctors, for my dedication and service to the chiropractic profession. So networking, getting yourself out there, having a business card, talking to people.
I had a question.
Yes.
On when you was out of work with home with the children, how did you keep certified to not lose your, or did you have your certification at that point? How do you like keep up with it when you're not working in an office?
You don't have to be working in an office. You can simply be reading the magazines and taking the little online exams that they offer you, attending a monthly meeting, and doing some online webinars.
And where do you turn it in?
It's all online. It's the AAPC. Everything is on the AAPC website.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Definitely, if you're going to become self-employed, use a lawyer and a CPA. Actually, in the networking, you can refer your clients to your lawyer and your CPA, which is a good, kind of thing back and forth. Keep good records and buy the necessary equipment that you need. They show you a new business checklist, I believe, right here on page 603. Probably choosing a business name was the hardest part for me. Everything else was pretty easy. I do have insurance because you want to have liability insurance. It also will depend on what you create for a home business if you decide to do that. If you have employees, if you end up with employees, that's a whole nother area that you want to tackle. Make sure for self-employment you keep up to date with your certification and your registration, any professional organizations, mentoring, networking. You also should be using a business associate agreement, and that basically covers you and the client that you work with as far as HIPAA and compliance. And the rest just goes into the different types of contracts and different things that you can do in your creating your business. Any questions? All right, so that finishes up the Fordney book.
Congratulations on the award you got.
Thank you very much. All right, so for homework for next week, let's take a look here. Let's do, in your study guide, page 349. $350, $351, and $352.
Oh, that one.
What was the last one?
$350 to $352, I believe.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, $349 to $352. And page 375, 376, 377, and 378. Then turn to page 414. Now, when it comes to looking up diagnosis codes, don't worry about those. On page 415, it looks like they're going to ask you to look up some diagnosis codes. Don't worry about those right now. Page 416. Page 417. All right. Page 449.
Did you say 449?
Yes, 449.
Okay.
450, page 450. Page 451. All right. And then you have to read chapter 1 in the Buck book. So chapter 1 in the Buck book
What is that one? Oh, thank you.
is this one.
Everybody should have that one already.
Yes.
Okay.
Everyone should have this one. This is your Buck book. Chapter 1 for next week.
So that's the only other book to bring with us to class.
So next week, you're going to bring your Ford-Knee study guide, your Buck textbook, and your Buck study guide. Or workbook, I think. So next week, the Ford-Knee study guide, the Buck step-by-step textbook, and the Buck step-by-step workbook.
And the other, ICD-9. Yeah.
You won't need the ICD-9s next week.
Not next week.
No.
So Hick Pick should be coming right behind him.
Yes.
There's one here that I don't have. I should. There's 3 of them, but I can't remember. Oh, the review, I think.
And then remember, the week of Thanksgiving, there aren't any classes.
So we'll get double the homework next week.
No.
We had a week off.
Get a week off for Thanksgiving. All right, let's do takeaways. Emily, what's your takeaway from tonight?
When I see that.
Oh, okay,
Even though I should already know that. And I do it.
okay. What is your takeaway, Lisa Leonard?
The claim form that is universal, I think I wrote it down so many times. I need to become very familiar with it.
You have to remember, with this job, whether it is billing or coding, it is not about the memorization, it is about knowing where to find the information. You will hear me say that many times throughout this course. So it is about knowing where to find the information.
Where to plug it in.
Right.
That's what I meant by
That's what it is
becoming
about.
familiar with it.
Yes.
Where to plug in the information I have.
Yes. That's what it's about. All right, Darla, what's your takeaway?
That was what I was going to say. It's a good thing we don't have to memorize anything. I just need to know where to find everything.
Yes.
Terminology. Yeah, terminology scared me off with the freaking memorization.
I'm still dealing with that.
Yeah,
Actually, I have a question about that.
PTSD.
But when you know
Yeah.
that we submit all of our grades from the terminology?
Yeah.
Is there a minimum for what our grades? Because like some of them I left I used my notes. Some of them I tried to take without my notes, so some of my grades were just awful. But and I wrote no notes used and stuff.
Yeah.
That's not gonna keep us from getting
No.
there. Okay,
No.
that's all I wanted to make sure.
All right, and Angel, what about your takeaway?
I'm more concerned like the billing. Are we gonna do more of that? Like, because I saw some of the math in one of the chapters, but we really haven't touched base on how to do that.
When we get into the
I-
buck book.
We will. Okay. All right. That just makes me feel better because I'm not the
When we
greatest
get
at
into
it.
the buck book. Yes.
Yeah. The TRICARE has a lot of different insurances, and there's a lot to like finding out what covers what. I know other than making a phone call to verify it. A lot with the doctor's offices, how it's ran, what you need for information from the beginning of the appointment to the end to do your job for the billing, the coders, what you're covering, any emergency. Most of it needs, you don't need a referral for an emergency, but other cases you might need like any type of like surgeries or that you know ahead that you're prepared for.
Right.
Yeah, and prior authorization.
Okay, good.
We're working on it. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I think I got everyone. So have a great week. And see you back here. So again, tonight's difficulties was not our problem. It was Network Maine. So I appreciate that everyone was patient and just waited to get connected. So have a great week, everyone, and I'll see you next week.
You too, Doreen.
weekend.
Yeah, you too.
Sounds very confusing. Let's spend this day wash dishes.
Oh, how nice. Okay, I leave them here. I can email everybody.
Yeah.
So you just. Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, don't tell them on the coffee cart. Okay, sounds good. So, you get to leave pretty soon? Yeah, I'm leaving now. Yeah.
See, these people had such a lovely time. They didn't know it was all, yeah, this was wonderful. Yeah. And that's why you started with dishes. Gee, this is great. Oh, nice. It was very nice.